Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning in some cases. You're very welcome to this episode of Always Getting Better with Enterprise. As always, we are looking at our latest monthly release, which is Defiant. And as always, it landed seamlessly on Monday morning in your platform, ready for you to use all the wonderful new features that we've brought to the system this month. So as always, I will share with you what it is that we've brought. We'll focus in on a few of those particular features in question, and we'll take you into the live system so you can see those in full view and full action in case you've been waiting to get an idea of how to use those, obviously, since Monday. If this is your first time to join me, you're very welcome on board, and we hope to see you every month as we issue all these great monthly features. So let me just start by sharing my screen with you, and we'll kick off on the quick and small presentation. So just to remind you of where we are this month, and of course if any of your colleagues would like to watch this presentation back, there's no problem at all. We will have this recorded now, and of course it'll be made available on our website by tomorrow, and I'll show you where you'll be able to access that on our blogs page. So Defiant landed on Monday morning, and kicking off here, just one of the key features that we released, which is serial number management. The reason for this really was to give you more control over your key assets, and obviously serial numbers, traceability, when was it purchased, who was it sold to understand the whole journey of the serial number as it comes in and leaves the system, and what that looks like or can look like from the point of view of being able to view the serial number information and manage that further within the system. So that was key for us so that you could see the full traceability journey on screen and make better informed decisions, and really just to save users within the system from having to go to different places to find out information. We've literally just brought it into one primary screen for you, and of course, as with all of our screens, we've got a grid. The grid can be filtered. So of course you can start to build up relevant reports around those serial numbers as well. It's a very simple screen. As I said, it starts off with the grid itself, and starting from the grid itself, you can filter by customer or item, or and item as well, if you just want to look at one specific customer and one of the serial numbers that have been sold to them, or one of the serialized items that have been sold. You can, of course, from the point of view of collaboration and communication with your customer in relation to that serial number, you'll be able to create service calls. So this is a great added benefit, that you keep all the communications as well in one place around those serial numbers, and then it's traceable and trackable against the customer, and more importantly against the serial number itself. So I mentioned already that you'll be able to see the full journey when it was purchased or made, particularly if it's in relation to a production item, and of course then when it's been sold on to your customer. We also have the ability to replace it with another serial number. So where you find yourself with an item, for example, that's maybe potentially under warranty and there's an issue with that out on site. So maybe you've recorded a service call for an engineer to call out, and in the process of that call out, a swap has been done with that particular item. So they swapped it out for the same item, but just another serial number. And of course, you can update the system here as well and put in the replacement serial number against the record, so you can see exactly what's happened against that serial number. So we'll get to that in more detail once we go into the live system, and we'll do a full demonstration around that, but just bringing that all into one view for you, giving you more control over that as a primary asset within your organization. Next up, we've got a couple of things that we brought in relation to your CRM. So nice and simply now you can create a quote from a CRM lead. So up to date, you've been able to go from a sales quote and create a lead directly from the quote. And of course, as always, maintain the relationship between both of those entities. So now we're going to make the process even faster for you. So you'll be able to turn those leads into quotes even faster. So if you're starting off from the lead stage, for example, you'll be able to go into the lead and you will see a button. You can see it there on screen. It's up there beside the Actions button to the right of it there. You'll be able to click on New Quote, create the quote, and of course it will create the relationship between the two. As you can see there below where it says New Quote, we've got linked to sales quote, and the example here is 235. So we maintain the relationship between both the master record for the lead and of course the transaction for the quotation. And it doesn't stop there. Again, all around key information, key master data, and making that visible to you at all times. So even if you're not in viewing the lead itself, you can, of course, from the leads grid, there is a quote column that you can make visible on the grid itself. I'll show you that as well. So again, for instant visibility around the quote that was created for that particular lead. And not only that, you'll have the same document buttons that we see throughout the system, and that would be to open the quote transaction or to click on the number itself, which is the purple clickable, and you'll be able to go into the update WISE panel on the quote itself. The reason for all of this, of course, as always, it's always to bring about quick data entry, putting down on times, particularly for your teams, like proposal times for your teams as they maintain lead records, and being able to get the information into the system faster, but at all times maintaining visibility between all entities as they are seamlessly linked together. So again, we'll take a look at that on the live system as well, and we'll show you exactly what that will look like. In addition to that, we've also brought in another small, but I think again, another key piece of UI on the lead screen itself, which is around the gross profit. So on the gross profit, up to date, you've been able to create a lead. You've been able to put in the total value, or if it's being created from a quotation, you might have the tick box that the lead value automatically updates, or the quote value automatically updates the lead. When you put in the total value, you could then put in a gross profit percentage. Now we're letting you put in a gross profit amount or gross profit value, and we will calculate the percentage for you, and of course the corresponding weighted value and weighted gross profit percentage will also be calculated. So just more information, making it more visible for you on the lead, that you can see the gross profit amount, gross profit percentage, and follow it all through. Next up, we have the back-to-back production. So this is something that we brought in to make it easy to reduce the amount of manual steps that it can take some of your teams when they're collaborating between customers and the production end. How do we make it easier for you to create that production order without going in to create it manually, obviously in the first instance, but also to maintain the relationship with the customer and the order the customer has put in for that particular bill of material item or production item. So with this simple back-to-back production order directly from your sales order, so when you have the production item or the bill of material item as a line item on your sales order, you'll be able to do a back-to-back production. And if you can see there, it's actually simply on the Actions menu for anybody that's using production. On the Actions menu of your sales order, there's a drop-down. You can see there we can come down to back-to-back production. That will automatically open up a WISE panel where you can simply select the bill of material item and, of course, allocate the root user and, of course, potentially the quantity or the planned quantity, and take it from there. So it's cutting down some of those manual steps, and what will happen is a new screen will open with a lot of this information pre-populated. So you'll have your BOM item, you will have the customer field automatically populated for you, you'll have the planned quantity, you'll have the root user. You will, of course, just have to fill out any other information that you would normally populate on the production order at that point in time, but you're simply ready then to just set it to planned or leave it as pending, whatever your workflow process is, and save that production order. And now that's in your standard production queue. So just eliminating those delays when the order goes into the system and just reducing that time that it takes to get the order in, validate information with the customer, then go and manually create that production order, that you can now follow it through directly from the order straight through to production. And this whole process is very similar to what we're already doing in relation to back-to-back purchases, where we have the purchase order being created for the suppliers for demand on products that we need to have in stock, for example. So just freeing up that time again within the teams and reducing the manual data entry that may be causing some delay perhaps within the administration side of things. So again, we'll go through that as we look at the live system, but as always, so they're just three of the key pieces or three of the key areas that we will identify in the live demonstration, but as always, it never stops there. We don't stop working, we don't stop bringing more and more great features or enhancements that will make life a little bit easier for you. So I've listed them all here, and of course, as always, they're detailed in our blog as well. But maybe just to give you a quick summary of what they are, here under items, the company item codes is something that we did introduce a couple of months ago, which is whereby you can record your supplier item codes or your company item codes against your item code details, which is brilliant from the point of view of doing the invoice automation piece when you're matching up lines on the invoices to have those company item codes in place. So we had rolled that out, for example, on sales and purchase transactions, and of course the invoice automation piece. But we wanted to make sure that it also hit all other potential document creation flows that happen within the platform naturally, not necessarily for everybody, but just to make sure that we were covered across the board. So we've just extended the support on all documents created from other sources, such as, examples are there already, item reordering, back-to-back PO, email and billing, recurring sales, the API, and of course more. So just all document sources. For sales and purchasing, lots of UI enhancements there. We've just done great improvements around the account balance. So this is the one I mentioned, that when you're adding, for example, a sales transaction, we've just centralized the account balance display where it says account balance and the amount, and we've also made it clickable. So a nice fresh look on the account balance when you look at that on your transaction screens. And of course, when we're looking at that for foreign currency as well, you'll see the foreign currency amount and you'll see the local currency in brackets. We've extended the share button to make sure it's available on all purchase transactions. So this is something that you have already across all your sales transactions, and we wanted to make sure you also have it across all your purchase transactions. Again, better collaboration between your teams and ensuring any communications that go across transactions, that everybody is kept up to date. On the purchase service transactions, we've just making sure that those extra buttons that we introduced over the last couple of months, such as the columns and Excel buttons at line level, are also there on your purchase service transactions. Then we have WMS. WMS, the pick list processing. You can now display the ship to addresses. So that just requires one prerequisite, which is really just to switch an option on against your user. So that's in settings, user settings, scroll down, click on edit on your user, go down to the WMS section, and there's a button there that allows you to display the ship to address when you're doing picking within the WMS handheld, and then the ship to addresses will come through. Last but not least is the Shopify connection flow. So it's just a fresh connection flow. Shopify actually removed what would have been known as the custom apps section. It's no longer relevant for connecting to Enterprise. So it's a fresh new flow directly on Shopify itself for retrieving the API and the shared secret key, and to make sure that they're brought back and populated into Enterprise. And we've obviously updated Enterprise, the UI, the connection screen itself within Enterprise to match the new flow that exists also within Shopify. So lots there to take on board. So maybe let's just jump into the live system. And as always, let's just focus in on those three key changes that I talked about from the very beginning. So let me just share my screen with you and we'll dive right in, and we'll share. Fantastic. So actually it's there on the back-to-back production. So we might as well stay there and just show you what that actually looks like. So for example, this is the back-to-back production. We have a sales order here. And as you can see here, I've got a couple of items. One just happens to be a bill of material item. And very simply, if I want to make sure I've got a production order in place for this customer, I can now come in here to actions. I can go back to back production. And of course, if I had more than one BOM, of course it would appear here in the list. I'm just going to leave it here so you can see it's just this one BOM for the moment. I'm going to select that BOM. I'm then going to specify the root user. So if you're used to entering the production orders, this is the user or potentially the machine or whatever you've denoted as the area for this production to take place. So in this instance, I'm just going to pick up machine 1. I've got the quantity to make, which defaults to the quantity on my sales order line. So it's quantity of 2. That's perfect. I can reduce that, of course, if I want, or I can change that to whatever the planned quantity is. And then I can go to the order tab here, and then I can simply click on Create Production Order. You did see there, of course, against the item because of the little blue button, which allows you to open the item master if you wanted to check further information before proceeding. Otherwise, we get a new tab that opens up, and it opens up a new production order. But as you can see, we've got the defaults already, the finished item, the planned quantity that we saw already. We've got the status pending. So what we'd normally see if we were entering this manually, we've got the root user that we chose at the time on the WISE panel. We've got the order date, due date, and of course I can make sure I change that. So maybe that's due by next week for the customer. Let's put in the 5th. But you can see there the customer reference has automatically selected that account. And then of course all of other information stands as is, whatever the components are for that particular BOM item. And of course if you need to put extra production costs on at this stage, or whatever you would normally do at the point of just adding a production order or populate custom fields. And that's it. And I simply then just click on save, but maybe I should put my planned warehouse in first, and click on save. So we know is not a stock item or a BOM. That's probably one of my components. So what I might do is just remove that one for a second, but you know the deal. You just basically save the production order, and then your production order is added into the system. So now when we go back to the sales order, so I've done nothing else. If I was to now go back into actions, so I know the next question is, will that have removed it now? I won't have to create that again. Absolutely. So into actions, back-to-back production, and it has auto-refreshed. The item is no longer available to make at this point in time or to link back in with the sales order. So when I go into the relationship map, and I know this is always a question, so how do I bring all these transactions together, and how do I see that they're all linked? Your sales order, your delivery, your invoice, your production order. So you have, as always, just remember you have the relationship map here, and this will simply show me the sales order and what production order it's linked to. So now we've got a full relationship between the two. So I think it's a great feature. It's just maintaining that relationship and just reducing down those pitfalls, I guess, between the time the sales order goes into the system and then, of course, adding that manual production order. Why not link it in directly to the sales order? And again, keep the relationship between the two as the production process progresses. Great, so that's the first one. So the next one, of course, is the serial numbers that I've mentioned. And where we've housed that, of course, is in services. And the reason for that is that, of course, it's a key asset like anything in relation to equipment or services that you provide within the system. So here within the serial numbers tab, and just to make you aware, I'm sure there's SAP Business One customers out there, this, unfortunately, you will not be able to see this serial numbers tab. This is for anybody that is not SAP Business One. So you will see the serial numbers tab here. When you come into serial numbers, the first thing you can do here, as always, at the top of the screen, we can very simply see we can export, we can create filtered reports. We've got an actions menu, obviously for column chooser, any additional columns. But I'm very simply going to start off by, we can do a filter. I can select a specific customer and a specific item, or I can simply just look at an item and say, well, okay, for this item, who has it, who bought it, where did I receive it in? What supplier did I buy it from? So if I just search this particular item, just to return some information to show you here, Very simply, we've got a very detailed grid that shows you a lot of important key information around the serial number itself. So for this item, as you can see here, there's up to 10 different serial numbers that have been received in against it. If I look across on each of the serial numbers, I can see key information, expiry date, I can see the customer and supplier. So for example, if this was ordered, there was a sales order for this customer, and in fact, in some cases, it's already been delivered as well. I can see that information. The same with the procurement side. So this is the open purchase order number here, and the purchase date, the supplier, and of course, the number of service calls. If there's any service calls already added against this particular serial number, I can see that they're already in place. So again, we can see a sales price, so what it would have been sold at as well once it went through on the sale, for example, on the delivery. So we can see all of that information. For the sales order and the purchase order, you can see there that we have the open button, and we also have the update wise panel. So that's where it shows me just the information, the basic information against the sales order. If the sales order was still open, that we could update it. And obviously we can open it from here if we want to delve in a little bit deeper. Even better than that, let's go back perhaps to the sales order or the serial number details itself. So you can see here on the serial number, we've also got two options. We can open the serial number details, and we also have a clickable here on the serial number itself. So if I click on the serial number itself, I get a pop-up wise panel on the right. Just gives me all the basic information relating to my serial number. What item code it relates to, the purchase receipt date, the sales receipt date, the expiry date. So key pieces of information. From here, I can click on Create Service Call. I'm not going to do that actually from this screen. I'm just going to show you that that's where you can do it from as well. And that will automatically link the service call to the serial number. Don't forget it is a service call, so it will reside as well in your overall service call grid, which is further over on the left. So let me start by opening the serial number, and when we drill in, we get so much more information. So we get to see in essence the journey of the serial number. So we get to see the serial number itself starting here at the top of the screen, what item it relates to. We can see, for example, it was sold 9 days ago and on what date. We come down here then to the purchasing. If this was a bill of material item, we would see when it was made. So if it was produced in production and received into stock, we would see that information here as well. So we can see the goods receipt. We can drill into that if we need to. We can see some audit information. So just some simple audit, creation date and time of that purchase transaction. Delivery date, when it actually, took place, expiry. So again, if the dates were different at the time, again, dates might have been updated manually on the transaction. If it was then brought on to invoicing, we would also see an invoice date here as well. And of course, if it originated on a purchase order, we also see the purchase order date here as well. In the next panel then, we simply get the sales journey. So this simply tells us that the last sales document for this particular serial number was a delivery. We can, of course, see the bill to, ship to, currency, salesperson owner, delivery person, if they're any way different. And we did see on the grid, we could see the sales order number where it originated from as well. So we have all of that as well. We can see as well that this particular item was replaced, and it was replaced by another item. And there it is there, serial 180625, and that's the serial number here, DDS, that it was replaced with. We can also see down here in the grid the service calls against that serial number. As always, we can pop in references and of course attachments. If you want to have any particular records, perhaps any services that have been done out on site and you need a record of that against the serial number, pop the attachment in here. The new service call, you'll see here that when I click on that automatically, what it will happen is it'll take the company, it'll take the customer associated with that serial number here automatically in. It'll take the stock item, it'll take the serial number. It will Obviously the Q is myself, so the handle by will be automatically. So some of those fields then are automatically populated for you. So let me just go back a step for a second. I just want to show you what will happen if we then go to edit that serial number. And when we click on edit, very simply what we do is we get to see all the information that we saw in the preview. In addition to that, we can fill in the reference here. And in addition to that, over here on the right-hand side, we can perform the replacement and select that replacement. And that's the piece that we saw on the bottom panel where it had been replaced with another serial number, for example. And of course, the important piece of information there is that not only do we get it here in the full serial number review, we also get all of this information directly on the grid itself as well. When we look at those different serial numbers, we can see replaced by, replaces, if it was replaced, if it replaced another serial number, for example, on another record, we would see that come through as well. So lots of great added benefit there around serial numbers. So do take a look. It acts as all other grids. As I've said, you can create your own filtered reports if there's certain information that you want to filter down, or simply search within any of the columns here as well to bring that information to hand as well. Okay. And next up then, or certainly not last or least, is the CRM and what we've done around creating a quote from a lead. So let me just give you a look at that here. So I'm just going to have a look at, as you can see here, lead number 54. So I'm going to open this one up. Already though, if I look at the grid itself, what I've done is I've brought the quote column to view. And in order for you to do that, very simply, click on your three dots here, your elliptical menu, click on the column chooser and search for the quote column. So I already have it there. Let me just bring it back. Okay, so search for the quote column and simply click and drag that to your grid. And then that will show you where you have linked quotes with leads. And from here, you will also have a button to open the quote or to simply drill in to update the quote value or the quote information. Just some of the key pieces of information, such as the date, salesperson, owner, any of the references and remarks. And of course, if you want to populate the custom fields as well. So let me just drill in here to this particular lead just to show you where it all comes from. So when we're looking at the lead, you can see here a button for new quote. So when I click on new quote, it opens up the new quote window. It automatically populates it with that customer from the lead. And then all you have to do, of course, is to populate and assign the relevant items that you require for that particular quote. So if I just go back a step, what happens once we've saved that quote and updated the details, that of course will update the lead information, which is what we have here. So linked to sales quote 235. And of course, as always, we can click into 235 if we want to, for example, if we wanted to link it to a different quote, for example, you know you can manually do that from here. But this whole idea here with doing the new quote button is to save you having to manually select and manually link. There still may be reasons for you to do that, and that's always going to be there. But this will just save you that time if you've started at the lead stage and you want to bring a quote into the lead. Do it directly from the lead and save yourself the steps of going out and back in again and doing a manual link between the two. So it just makes it nice and simple and seamless connection and relationships then between all of your transactions. In addition to that, I mentioned about the gross profit as well on your lead. So when we now look on a preview of the lead itself and we look at the gross profit, you can see here that we have the amount. So you can see there €58, but we also have the gross profit percentage. And you can see that here on the weighted value, and the weighted gross profit now shows the weighted gross profit amount and gross profit percentage. So we're performing those calculations for you without you having to populate the discount or populate the gross profit percentage yourself. And just to show you where that's coming from, when I click on edit and when I now scroll down to the gross profit, it is now a value or an amount field. So you pop in the actual value or the actual gross profit amount, and we will do the rest in relation to based on, of course, the total value, the calculation, the gross profit percentage, and the weighted gross profit percentage as well. So lots of great features, and I think there was just one more I wanted to say too. I know we were going through the sales order there that we created. When you're starting off on a sales order journey or any of the sales document journeys, mentioned about the document balance preview, I'll just quickly show you here, for example, on one of the customers. So what we've done here is just made it nice and neat and tidy here in the middle of the screen. I'm just highlighting that for you there. We've got the account balance, but we've also got a clickable on the account balance amount as well, so that you can see the breakdown of the balance due for that particular customer and make better informed and, again, quicker informed decisions as you're adding transactions into platform. So lots to take on board there. I hope you found something very useful, maybe a golden nugget from all the information that I've gone through there. And we certainly, as always, would love your feedback if you have anything to tell us. And I know we get a lot of your roadmap requests through from Sarah. So we're in touch with a lot of you there in relation to that. And of course, if you want to find out what all of these great updates are, as always, check out our website, which is enterpryze.com. If you click here on our resources, come in here to the blogs, you will see here the Defiant release, and it will detail everything that's been issued this month. And more importantly, you can see it in action. So step through on the product tour, find out more about the feature, how to use it, the benefits of using that feature as well. And of course, as you're using the Help Center as well, which is help.enterpryze.com, just reminding you where everything is housed in relation to information, always take a look here to see if you can find the missing answer to maybe help you out before you contact support, because maybe it's here and it might be just something quite simple. For all those updates every month, if you click in here to news and updates, I have them all here. So Defiant, the latest release is always at the top. Click into Defiant, and again, you'll get quick access to all of the product tours to step you through. And just as important, and if not more important, if you want to find out what's coming up next, check out our roadmap, and that's here again under resources, under roadmap. Come in here every month to check to see what's coming soon and what could be of benefit to you and your teams and your organization. Well, that's it for now, and that's it for today. And as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and out of your morning to join me on this monthly release journey. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And in the meantime, take a look at the latest release and start using all the wonderful new features and see what can help you even further. Thank you so much and take care.